the March meeting of the village trustees. We have in attendance several people that are going to be presenting on the Hometown Heroes, Green Mountain Hometown Heroes, and I apologize, on the agenda, I misspelled heroes. You're not sandwiches, you're people, so. Thank you for that. Cindy Myers is here, Kim Hall, on Zoom. We have Dee Coletti from the Green Mountain Hometown Heroes, Matthew Patterson, our trustee, and Robert Novak is also on here along with Cat TV. As far as changes to the agenda, Chris Damon is going to speak a minute when we get to the DRB. He has a couple of questions, Matthew. It'll be important for you to be part of that discussion. And let's see, is there something else I was going to add in? Yes, under old business, I'll just make a quick comment on the water department loan update on one of their projects. Anybody else have any? Yes, Kim.
I'll be asking the trustees about Senate Bill 311.
Senate Bill 311. Let me make a note of that one. Jeannie, there should be, if not chairs there, there's probably a chair in the corner.
Yeah.
And Jeannie Jenkins. So if there are no other other items to be put on the agenda or discussed, we can launch right into the first item, which is approving the minutes of the meeting of February 13th. Presuming trustees had these meetings and were able to review them, does anyone have any comments, questions, corrections?
I believe Mr. Novak's name was misspelled. It's
On there? Where is that one here? And oh, you are right. We can correct that. Never caught that. Thank you. Any other comments, corrections, questions?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded already. Okay, you'll let Matthew second that. Since there were no previous questions, we'll ask one more time if there is any comments or discussion. Hearing none again, all in favor? Aye. Thank you for that. Then we will move right to Norm, since Norm has been working all day. And let me first start with that. There are three items that need signatures from trustees who are here in attendance. Lori, I will give this to you because I know you have Matthew's permission to sign for him. And these are just annual certifications that we do for the highway department. One is the town road and bridge standards. We can get that one approved. We have the network inventory for that. We have the road and bridge standards themselves that we will sign. We do this every year. Norm and I met with the V-Trans supervisor person, don't know his exact title, but he went over all of this with us. The third document is basically is the financial plan for the town. And what we do here is the state gives us certain amounts of money for each class of road, class 1, 2, and 3 roads. It's about $30-some thousand in total, correct?
Yep.
A little over
But a
that.
little over this
A
year,
little
there
over
was
that, yes.
at the beginning of the year, because of the flooding, they had given some
little
additional
extra.
funding.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So then what we do is we then report what the village budget is on certain highway projects. And we list them out that we're doing some drop inlet and culvert repair, some road and sidewalk paving we'll be doing. And then we also do some reserve fundings. It is not an exact dollar for dollar what is in the budget, but it gives the state an idea that the village has in fact budgeted appropriately. And that you have to have at least $300 budgeted for each mile of these roads. which would be not enough to probably sweep a street once, if that's all we budgeted, so we just have plenty of. We certify that we do projects, yes, Kim?
I noticed in one of the bridge, inspections that there's spalling on the Prospect Street underside, that bridge on the west side.
On the outer coating, the base,
On the, where the bridge, button hits the river. There. The inspection said there was falling about a foot deep. The underside of that bridge, or that side.
because they don't send them to me,
Um,
they just, the only time they're notified is there's a big problem that you have to deal with, so.
Can I just ask, since there's by the house?
Yes.
Small, me?
oh, it's concrete, falling off, falling out.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that we should then add to the list, and we can talk to the V-Trans people. That's probably something we can circle around with when we get to your spot, because Kim will be later on talking about some significant deficiencies in the bridge and railroad inspection type things that have been noted since well before 2018. And no evidence thus far of things having been corrected, not by the village, it's not village property, it's either railroad or V-Trans. So we'll get to that. But anyway, these three things are things that we just have to sign, so there's no motion to be made or anything like that, but just so that everybody knows, we do need to sign them and we will. Thank you. Thank you, Norm. Didn't mean to take up too much of your time. You're on.
So, all right, so. Everybody knows, highway winter, blah, 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 it's been kind of a light winter, we've been concentrating on cutting some rocks and roadsides. Doing some maintenance as time allows. Right now, we are working on our project in front of North Bennington Variety, which will be a new drop inlet on the east side of the street, going across to the west side. Then turning down and heading towards Homestead Views. We get a new sidewalk on the Church Street side of that property, the Homestead Views side. That should all be coming, the drop inlets have been ordered, everything's all measured out, and figured out where it's gonna be right. The pipe's already on site at the state garage, it's a state project, we're gonna help out with that and get that done, so that's well underway. We have completed the surveying on Park Street this morning for down by, the Monroe residence, and to go down to maybe continue that ditch. Maybe alleviate some of that water that heads down on the back Sweet Road. You know, I emailed that, again to Mary, the graph, but it's hard to put it together. Well, the Regional Planning Commission is working with Matt. We're going to, hopefully have a continuation meeting, and we're gonna have a couple different, projects to look at, and that is one of them. So we got those, and then, you know, street sweeping, that'll start soon, the sidewalks, hopefully we'll get it before people start opening their windows, we'll do it early. Parking on the street is coming pretty quick in April, so we try to get at least the first round done before then. And then the only other thing right now that I have, is our truck that we're replacing, which was supposed to have been replaced last year, we put it off another year, kind of equal out a little bit and spread them out. I have, 3 bids, sat down and, with the committee, and we opened them all up. And my recommendation is for bid number 2. And it's through, third body vendor. And it's at 54,958. There's a toolbox that should be allowed on that, so, you know, let's call it 55 and 56,000 should be all done. It's a budgeted expense that we put in a reserve, and I believe as we started 8 to 10 years ago with Barry, that actually have a reserve that was big enough to actually purchase our equipment without it going in the hole, and we are at that with, we won't be tapping that out at all.
Is there
So we
anything
have,
you wanna- Yeah.
nope, Norm and I met the other Norman, just took a quick look, same thing that Norm was just saying, right now. In the truck reserve is a little over 67,000, and that's before this year's,
Before this year's, yeah.
budgeted amount, so it will leave. A bit over 10,000, depending on exactly where the toolbox falls. And it'll, like I said, we won't have to take any loan out for this particular truck. We did budget a small amount for a payment, just in case, because Norm didn't have the final amount, so. We can talk about that down the road for next year, that could possibly bump up the reserve.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
everything else comes in line, so. Like I said, as far as trustees have any other questions, certainly let me know, but it'll be a fully funded, fully paid for, and it will not be drained in the reserve, and we'll begin. Saving for the next one, which will be the bigger one, which is typically where you have to take it out for.
And then, Norm, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we spoke, this truck actually, when you went to the 3 different dealers, this was the person that was most responsive.
Yes,
That
Barry,
these people have already ordered this truck because.
Yeah.
So there's not gonna be that much of a delay, and even if the village didn't take it, it's one that municipalities use often enough that the dealer was willing to go up front and make that order.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest things to try to capture with pricing, availability, and, especially in New York State, which is a far bigger, region than we are around here. Everything hits July 1st, so that truck could be on the ground, it's actually in shipment somewhere. So it'll actually, we'll probably have it here in a couple of weeks, and, we go for this one. And, then it'll go to the body company, we won't see it till June, 1st of July. That's just how they pay, but, and again, trading it with either one of these vendors. We'll be able to keep our truck until that new one showed up, so, we wouldn't be down here.
And then you said that, well, it looks like this is a Vermont company, and then you said that they had a mobile repair thing, so if something were to go wrong with the truck, you don't have to take it to Rutland. They have a way to fix it here, right?
That's correct,
Okay.
for simple, yeah.
Well, I mean, it does make a difference,
Oh, yeah.
so you're not losing the vehicle.
The internet didn't tell me. We're looking at the page that you guys sent
Yeah.
us on the truck stuff. What is TNT?
That's a, body vendor,
It is, okay, in Latham maybe?
it's down
Oh, okay.
probably.
Okay, so
Is-
Google did fail.
Is TT the same thing
Yes,
as
it is.
TNT?
Yeah, I just didn't repeat it when I.
Okay. And what's Woodard?
It's
Another body vendor.
No,
All 3 of
body.
those are body companies.
Okay,
So is your recommendation for the yellow highlighted one?
Yes.
I think
Right.
Lori's asking where the truck's being purchased, so.
Yes, it is, Lori, on the yellow highlighted. Line that everybody was sent, so it's the Formula Ford Company in Rutland. It will be all 3 had the same truck, the Ford F-350. This was the XLT version, and it has the better tires and wheel covers, some of the other ones did not. And a toolbox, which might make sound silly to say is a toolbox necessary, but right now, if you go in Norm's truck, if you go in that truck and drive around, your feet are all over stuff. So it's not even safe to come to a quick stop and then have tools rattling around under your feet, so. Yet one more thing to say.
so the toolbox is in the
Yes, in this price,
pickup part, no?
Yeah.
not-
No, well,
No.
it'd be on the bottom.
on the bottom.
But
So that would
it's,
be on.
it's part of the truck, and again, as we started years ago, we constantly improved our equipment. Again, with a surplus program, it's got a lot of money, I actually just recently sold a trailer for $38,000, so that check's gonna be coming. Now we have our excavator to be able to put in a lot more pipe, so we're gonna be looking for, a transit. And again, it's dump grinder, but all these are funded right out of that program, it doesn't cost the village anything,
Mhm.
so. You know, they're great, we get our assets, to where we need to be. You know, so that's pretty much where we are. The one difference is that in the formula truck, they also, it adds onboard power. Which now, you know, about every tool in the world that you buy is electric now, you know, constantly run back to the garage to charge the battery. Especially when we did the big culvert, I don't expect that we're going to have any more culverts that size that we'll ever do again. But, you know, that truck's got the capability of just throwing the charger in it and just have it take care of it, so. I get it, so.
Norm, did you, oh, not Norm. I don't see you on the screen anymore. Matthew, do you have any questions?
I do not, and I think
Okay,
I'm in agreement with this whole proposition.
I appreciate everything you've done to make it as light an impact on the village that you have.
Indeed.
is that a motion, Matthew?
Yeah, okay.
All right,
I'll second.
I think we've already discussed, as long as no one in the audience has a question. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Get your truck. Anything else to talk about, Norm?
No, I know, one of my, post members of the VFW and also the Legion. Not everybody knows they're a big veteran in this community, and they're gonna bring forth some hometown hero banners, and, as far as the highway department side, which you would ask me, I fully support it. I think it's a great program. I think some people need to be recognized. I think some banners need to be in the right spot. I'm just throwing an example out for the village of North Bennington. Larry Howard was a bomber pilot in World War II. I would probably put his by power store, but you know what I mean, if his family wanted it somewhere else, that is, but you know, we got a lot of, you know, community people that were, that I think would, you know, be proud to be recognized and famous, so. I think it's something that the village should look for.
And I'm hoping you'll stay for that
Yes.
next discussion, which is why I put them right after you. Okay, just one more quick thing. It was just because it was on the agenda. The information had previously been sent to the trustee, but there was a very reasonable quote given in the amount of $1,954 to fix the ceiling in the top floor of this train station. And since we put great pride into keeping this building, or trying to, that is well within Norm's discretion to do anyway, but just figured public money, we'll let them know that we're putting.
Right, and that should be, we'll fix that reasonable. Now we have Bennington College wanting to use the upstairs.
Yes,
It's kind of an ugly room, and while we're on that, I forgot. As far as bills, I've been in contact with the insurance company several times this week for the accident at the fountain. And
Yeah.
hopefully that will be recreated. I went ahead and the box that they smashed has actually been built even before they approved it. Because I don't know if there's anybody in this room that want that fountain to go back up, so,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, you gotta deal with that. And the only other thing is we had a big tree fall on the baseball field at the church home. We cleaned it up, but we talked to the church today, and, you know, hopefully they'll repair our fence, but again, I told the contractor, just go ahead, we'll sort that out later.
Okay.
Because, you know, baseball season's coming, the kids gotta play.
okay.
Thanks, Norm.
So if there's nothing else for Norm, then let's move right into the Green Mountain Hometown Heroes. And I will let you all introduce yourself, since I'm not sure who is talking first.
Actually,
And please feel
I have
free
these
to-
for you. If we were presenting, that's what we would be presenting, so.
Lori, I've got something to bring to you after this meeting, so I'll bring you a copy.
So I'll stand over here if I might, does that work?
Please.
So
Whatever is comfortable.
I'm Stephanie Peters and I am, hi, Ray, nice to
Hi,
see you.
Stephanie.
Hi to Sheila as well. So I'm here with some of other board members from the Hometown Heroes, we have Hometown Heroes. We are an organization who want to introduce ourselves. I'm Shirley Adams.
I'm Joe Bizon.
So we are actually the VFW and the Bennington Legion Riders organizations have merged in this effort, not our organizations, but to collaborate to make the Vermont Hometown Heroes. We are fully incorporated officially now with the Vermont Secretary of State, which is pretty exciting. And we are actually also applying for a 501c3 status as well. So we are an entity of ourselves, and which that alone, I think, is a wonderful collaboration. So we are operating as an independent organization with our own board of directors, and we are 3 of the 7. So we're happy to be here tonight, and I'll tell you what our purpose is overall. We have one purpose. Our objective is to honor our local veterans, living or deceased, by obtaining customized banners to be displayed on poles among managed street towns. Shirley actually brought an example of one, not one of ours, but just what it will look like.
Oh, indeed, they.
Yes, you
you
might
see
have
them
seen them
quite
other in New
frequently.
York.
Yes.
Cambridge maybe, or.
Cambridge and Grafton also has them.
I was gonna say, I do
Yeah.
definitely live in town. When I- Okay.
So, it is our understanding that there are none in Vermont as of yet. So we are hoping to be the initial, providers of these, and it's a great effort. So we do have some information, just for our plans. These are our plans so far. So veterans living and deceased will be eligible to have a banner, meeting one or more of the following: Bennington area resident, past or present, member of the VFW Post 1332, which is Bennington, member of the American Legion Post 13, which is also Bennington, or have served with the Vermont National Guard at the Bennington Armory. So those are our eligibility. They must have served in the U.S. Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, National Guard, Navy, Marine Corps, Merchant Marines, and or Space Force. So the details, which I can tell you a little bit about, we do have this on our application.
Yes.
We wanted to pass it along to you. Applications will be available for Legion, the VFW, as well as town offices that are willing to hold them for us. The family or the sponsor will be entirely responsible for the costs. Right now, we're looking at $190, subject to change, but that's what we budgeted, paid for by the family or the sponsor. And this will include everything from the mounting brass brackets to the shipping, those kinds of things, and administrative fees. They will be placed on streets and in places really up to the town to determine, and the family or the sponsor will not be getting a guaranteed space. We think that's important to note and to be clear with people who want a banner that we cannot guarantee that you'll have XYZ spot. So they will be tracked also by pole number and street name, so we'll keep an ongoing list as well. They're pretty durable. We know that the company has stated that they last several years where they have been hung. When they're no longer presentable, in an attempt, we'll try to offer the banner to the family or the sponsor, with the, of course, caveat, they're welcome to have them replaced, of course, so to speak. We are making clear in the application that no one, us or the town, is responsible for loss, damage, or missing banners. They're displayed at our discretion. And we're also not allowing additional embellishments for decorations to be added to the banner or the pole or the area. We want to keep it clean and clear to that as well. So only one banner per individual person. So my family, all 7 children wanted one each for my dad. That is not going to happen. Sorry. They have to have served again in those sides of the service. We will allow families or the sponsor to order an additional banner, probably to reduce costs, so that they can have it themselves if they want, but we will not display more than one per person. Crafting for quality digital photo, I called Staples. So we were wondering about, how do you do that, so to speak. For some people, it's less than $2 for Staples to do it, so it's pretty easy and affordable to do. We wanted to make sure. We wanted to be clear that there's no cost to the town. They're not responsible. We have actually, as part of our efforts, we have a committee that is going to be responsible for maintaining them, observing them, taking care of problems, those kinds of things. That is a committee that we are committed to. So we'll be doing the ordering, the maintenance, the monitoring of them, so to speak, working closely with the town to get them installed. Green Mountain Power has been wonderful with us. We even have some conversations with them about whether or not they'd be willing to help us, install them if needed. And they have been, willing to hear that request. So in order to move forward, we of course would need your approval. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. Green Mountain Power, my understanding is they need a letter from the town or the village, stating that, we have your permission to do this, to make sure that it's all, legitimate and everyone is running on the same understanding. That's really important.
Do you have the contact at Green Mountain Power for whom the letter
We can
goes?
certainly get that to you by tomorrow.
Okay,
Yes.
that was.
I don't have it on. You have it.
You will
We'll
have
find
it.
You will have
Okay.
it, yes.
Okay. I have a bunch of questions, but let me see who else does first.
Who puts them up?
So at the moment, the easiest way to do it might be the town, although we have requested to Green Mountain Power that they, consider helping us to get them installed. And they are willing to, because they want to support veterans, they're really actually excited about this. So they have fielded our request to consider they being the people that install it, so to take some of the onus off the town. It will not be us. As much as
No, I think it would be more formal than somebody in the town would.
Yes.
Or the village.
Can we just, don't we need permission, because we don't know many of these poles?
Yeah, that's.
Well, that's what-
the
yeah,
letter.
That's what the letter.
So
You request from them and then they say yes or no.
They have said yes, as long as the town sends a letter saying that they approve of the town or the village.
Okay, and then we will get that because there's probably some liability somewhere
Well,
involved.
it'll come back. It's no different than our American flags hanging up the street.
Good.
Just as easy. And,
Good.
you know, whether, they do it, I know,
Okay,
a couple local guys with bucket trucks have already got here. We don't have any problem putting them up in our community and I know. You know, they've already got a tentative plan in the other communities.
good. So if this is called the local hometown heroes.
Yes.
Should we be looking that North Bennington has everyone who would be hung here, not hung physically, but their pictures? They would have some North Bennington connection.
So that is certainly something that we have talked a lot about. So our goal is, of course, if you are from North Bennington and there are still spaces available, we would love to have you in your village. We are not sure, to be honest with you, the number of people and where they will come from, where they will hail from. So ideally, we would like that, but really we renamed ourselves to be the Green Mountain Heroes because we really wanted to be an area, but ideally, of course, it would be in their locale.
So who's that, and then I assume there's something more than you fill out the application and send in your money. Who is verifying that these are, for lack of a better thought, people in good standing?
So I'm not sure what you mean by good standing, but.
Well, I
you
mean,
they
like,
were
what if
veterans?
there's, well, not just a veteran, but what if they're also a felon?
So what we have discussed with the town of Bennington, and Jean can jump in here if she wants to, is that we've going to have the town of Bennington review the applications as well to make sure that there aren't any concerns about anybody who could be on the display.
So the application will have,
Do the
the
same thing.
application will have a
Okay.
caveat that says the town
That's
has the
fine.
right
Okay.
to.
Refusal, so to speak.
Yes,
And so you could say the same thing for the village,
Yes.
probably, I mean,
Yeah.
we were gonna have that
department can just do a quick
Going back.
Okay,
background check, both in-state and out-of-state.
and then is your organization looking for a written agreement with each municipality? You would think you'd probably want that, right?
yes,
Okay,
would be great.
okay.
Once they go up, they stay up.
They stay up correct year round.
But-
We were gonna have,
Until they have.
well, until they look like they shouldn't be there anymore, and in that case, we'll contact the family or the sponsor to say, your banner is worn. We are going to remove it, if you'd like to pay for a replacement, we can replace it. A piece of that, our understanding from the manufacturing of these, they're lasting between 3 to 5 years.
Can we say that there's a time limit on that? Because
Well, I wouldn't- I
does
don't know
that
I
mean
wanna
that
go
for the
back-
next 30 years, you're gonna see signs up there?
No, I wouldn't say that, I mean, because they're gonna wear We're gonna be the ones looking to say, okay, these things are warm, you guys see it, yeah, that one's warm,
Okay,
you know, we would be the
but
first,
then the family could replace it
Yes,
right?
or not,
10 times.
correct.
Okay,
Well, as long as we're in existence, unless somebody else wants to take it.
And so, Mary, so, what we had requested was to have a caveat in there that the town, that it wasn't just up to these guys to decide that it was warm. That if the town or the village saw it was warm, you also had the ability to say, let's get, you know, either put up a different one, or, you know,
okay.
a redo of that one.
Same replacement, on a replacement one, would you have to buy all the brackets again or just the banner?
I don't think so, I think.
I mean, not unless the brackets are broken.
Yes,
It should be just.
They would cut the cost down on.
ideally, yes.
What are the brackets made of?
They're metal and they clamp around the post.
Are they clamped to the post? They aren't bolted to?
No, they got, it's like a big hose, full size hose. Yeah, and the town, of course, is gonna have to say so on looking into the background too, if you guys are worried about that.
And how high are they mounted?
Well, Green Mountain Power actually has a whole set of standards
Because they have
of,
standards.
of how, I mean, it's very clear, you've probably got that PDF.
Right.
I haven't studied it, you might have.
It was a long time, they'll be hot, it's all, we have our American flags, they probably sit, the town limit was at just one.
Okay,
So nobody will hit it in their head, it's not gonna be, you know.
Right.
but we can still
And
put the flags up. they'll
They
still-
don't-
Oh, yeah, none of that's, none
A
of
lot of
that's.
times have both.
nuisance.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody didn't know, is your organization aware of Tony Morrow and a book he wrote about Bennington and North Bennington, World War II? And maybe even World War I heroes. If you're interested, I will get you complimentary copies from the author. Because like Norm mentioned Larry Powers, it mentions it's got really wonderful stories about local people. I mean, and these were, you know, starting out sometimes when they were just teens and drafted, and it's just heartwarming and they just shouldn't be forgotten. And so it may even be if their families aren't around, maybe the municipalities, if there's somebody that shouldn't be forgotten, we can sponsor somebody.
Well, that's why we said families and sponsors, because
Yeah.
we know that there might be
Yeah.
organizations that wanna sponsor someone or someone's.
It could be somebody's uncle, it could be
Yes.
somebody's great,
Right.
great uncle.
Well, I will get some books to Clark and he can get them to around. You should read it.
I got one question, it's, I was born and raised right here in Bennington. And, I did service 1976 to 1980 in the Marine Corps, but I'm now a resident of Pownell. With my banner be presented in Bennington, I am a member of the,
The way we had worded it in Bennington was if you were a resident of Bennington at any point in your life, then you'd be able to put it in Bennington.
okay.
And you also have a North Bennington connection.
And you also have to follow them, we go there next.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
And
sure.
actually, I'll actually give you what period. That's what
Does the application include like, I would prefer this town, but I also apply to this one and that one?
surely it's
We
application.
haven't talked about that.
Okay, cause like, he's a good example
Yes.
that, you know, he could put it where he prefers to be or
It seems like
request.
a question
Yeah.
to ask the applicant what
Yeah.
their preference would be.
And the word was that we're gonna do slightly different applications for every town, right, because of wordage and stuff like that, or?
I think we're gonna try to make it generic.
Generic.
That's what-
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and like you said, you know, you still have the caveat
Yes.
that you have the final say, but. You know, if somebody applies and they say, hey, I'd really like to be in Bennington because of this connection or that, then you guys have the understanding, and if it works out, then. You know, you can hopefully place them where the people would be the most.
Any
Happy.
disputes about location are up to you guys to deal with and make.
This
final
means as far as, from the
Placement.
family,
Placement,
well, we'll respect the town to decide where to place them specifically, that's not our purview.
And you did say in here that the families are not guaranteed a
100%,
specific.
it's
set.
on the application,
Yes,
yes.
but a preference is
Yes.
nice to honor it
Sure.
if it can be done.
Yes.
If, and.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, who was that?
I
Sorry.
think it's Matt.
No.
Oh, I think it was
Me.
Oh, Robert, yes,
Yes, well, I was coming back from I mean, I don't quite know what the design is for this, but I was coming back from the Albany airport through near Russell Sage College Route 2 or whatever. And there was a town with a lot of these banners up and I thought it was quite unsightly, actually. Now, in Williamstown, they have a nice monument for veterans, all kinds of veterans, and which is quite nice down on the big traffic circle. But if I'm coming out of a house, I don't want to see the same picture all the time up on my telephone pole. That's my feeling. I think it's aesthetically, I think
okay.
it's unsightly. That's my opinion.
Robert, did you see when Shirley held up the sample? Were you able to see that? Shirley, could you do that
I
again?
did not see it. I thought it was
Okay,
yes, those are what I saw. Those were what I saw coming home from the
okay, all right.
and then I'm just against it.
Okay, you know what? Everyone is right, is welcome to an opinion. I appreciate that you're offering one, so thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
What happens
Yes.
if 3 years or 4 years from now, people stop renewing them and they start wearing out? What if we end up with like 5 banners or like 3 banners? Are we gonna renew only 5 of them and put up 5 banners around town? Or will there be like an endpoint where we go, well, that just looks weird, I guess?
Well, a piece of that would be sort of our organization, you know, at that point, I would say to the organization, do we still want to keep doing this? Is it still relevant? Is there something different we want to do? Have we kind of lived out our time? Because that also happens sometimes.
One of the things that we kind of discussed when we met with the Bennington folks is that we're gonna do an initial period of 3 years, and then there will be an automatic renewal unless there was some concern about the program. So I think that would probably something like that, would
Yeah.
maybe meet your concerns.
Yeah. And hopefully Rob's. And then. Wait, it's blown out of my brain. Oh, the costs of the banners and the brackets and everything, is that straight cost, like 190?
We're not making any money.
Okay,
on
because I was
this.
wondering if there was.
A little bit of overhead because we have.
Administrative costs, there is a little bit
Yeah.
of administrative costs, so we just.
Well, I was just thinking if you bumped it up to 200, maybe you get money that you can put towards something, maybe.
Yeah, we may build a little bit in there because of that,
Yeah.
just because of those types of things in there. But yeah.
Because we're incorporated and there's annual fees and stuff like that, there's kind of some padding in there just to cover those annual fees.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
Question for Norm. Do you envision that this would just be on Main Street, or are we just gonna open it up to any street anywhere?
Well, I think it all depends on how popular it gets. I would certainly start on your main corridors. Now, again, if you had, I don't know, I'll just use like Lori, for example, right?
Yeah.
If she wanted to do one for George and she wanted it on George Street, then sure. I like the idea of once they go through all the communities to have little check boxes, and again, boom, and if you have a preference, I don't see why you couldn't ask. It's far much more manageable in our little community of the village than it is in, say, Bennington.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to be very careful about that, all right? Like, I'll probably say something that's maybe a little distasteful. I do like the shelf life for 3 years. I think, things need to roll. I'm a big, don't look at me, but I'm a hard guy, but you know what I mean? Things need to roll. I like that they come back, you know what I mean? Maybe it skips a couple years and then it comes back and something else happens. Again, I'm not on that committee. I got enough going on with everything else. But, I would just say that, so with that, it'll work. You can't leave yourself into a trap again in a bigger area, like the town of Bennington. For people saying, oh, I want mine here, I want mine here.
Yeah.
Again, the village has been always much more easier to do things.
Yeah.
But this is just like our bricks around the fountain, nobody picked where the bricks went, the bricks
Yeah.
went where they came out of the box and they
Yeah.
got set there.
Yeah.
There's 3 bricks in that thing, that whole thing had been placed in one certain spot, and that was for the 3
Yeah.
kids that passed away in the car
Yeah.
accident. So their parents could sit on a bench and look at those bricks, and nobody, only 3 in that whole thing, they put in that one spot.
So, but I look kind of like the idea of, I'll get to you in just a second. Keeping it either on, one of the 2 main
Right,
stretches.
start out
On just the main
street.
stretch, so you're not driving around and you see one out here and then you see one way over there.
But sometimes that may be going back to the other point, and I think, when you said you had a question, it wasn't a question, it was a comment. But either way, it doesn't make them everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If there's somebody on Church Street, or there's somebody that lived their whole life, Mr. Nolan, right? So we'll Lord do that. He's lived his whole life on Hall Street.
Yeah.
If his family wants that banner in front of his house, I'll get it as close to there as I can.
Okay. that makes
You know what I
sense.
mean? And then it's not like boom, 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 like in a, going to, south of the border, Pepe's got a thing, 2 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles. But in our center of town, I
Okay.
think we should have a.
We could at
pretty
least
good
start there
population.
and then see where it goes.
That's correct.
Jeannie,
Yeah, well, I think along the same lines, Green Mountain Power has to approve the spots, and so they are very specific in Bennington. It is not all over Bennington.
But
It's
Okay.
very, you have to
Okay.
say, yeah, there are very specific blocks that it actually
okay,
are assigned.
That
So-
Green Mountain said that?
Yeah, so Green Mountain, you have to,
Okay.
they're approving particular poles for you to put things on.
okay,
And so it isn't wherever you want, you have the application,
okay,
yeah. So
Good to
that
know.
sort of solves.
yeah, good to
Some
know.
of that.
Matthew, I don't want to forget that you're here. Do you have a comment or concern or question? You're muted, so I'm gonna guess no. He's got thumbs up, says no, it's okay. All right. Any other questions or comments or? Happy to have the discussion and happy to run a little bit behind schedule on it.
Oh, well, maybe it would be nice to know where Green Mountain would allow them in our village.
Well, right now, it'll be all of Main Street, because we already got all the lines,
Yeah.
I don't see them having a big problem with almost anywhere.
If you said that
I
Green
really
Mountain
don't.
Power had to approve the flags, then this is the same thing.
It'll be where it'll be, and that'll be it, but
Okay,
there's probably areas where there's humongous amount of transformers, maybe a pole that gets snapped off every other week. You know what I mean? I don't see that being a big negotiating problem.
so
Do
what,
these banners compete with the flags, or they're on separate poles?
No, they'll be on the same.
Same
They'll be
pole.
under them, the flags will be above.
so Lori, what do you think? Do we need a motion for something or just?
I
What do you
don't-
think?
I don't think you do. I mean, I think it was explained. I think there's more explanations that are going to come, and I think it was
Okay.
a really good introduction.
Okay, and maybe we can just leave it that at this point, we seem to support the program. Be happy to continue looking into it, would like to see whatever agreement comes between your organization and the municipality. We'll get a letter to Green Mountain Power and answer Ray's questions about where they might be. Does that sound about right to everybody?
First thing,
I think
if that lets them bring about power,
Okay,
That you're in support.
okay,
And just a bit of information,
Yes.
Kind of had a little bit of a time frame in our head, the organization, and we're trying to get some flags up, maybe not all of them, but by, Memorial Day, so just kind of put that out there.
Well, that makes sense.
that sounds good. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. This was great. So happy that you all came out.
You know how to reach us if you have.
We do. We have emails and thank you, Dee. Dee is also on the call here. Thank you.
So, could I ask you about the name of your group? What, your writers, your bikers?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
It's the name.
So there's,
Yeah.
VFW, and there's American Legion, and under each of those major
Yeah, right.
organizations, there's a writing.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks.
we are,
Things in our community.
we got together to form a agreement on home talk there.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, the rest of the audience. We're a little bit behind our schedule, but not too much. Let's move now to the fire department, and you can start talking about it, or Doug, you have provided everybody the quote here, so.
Yep, so I had let Chief Cross know that I had forwarded him and I met
Okay.
a week and a half ago-ish. And this is the ongoing
Yeah.
discussion for the turnout gear. So as with everything, prices have gone up some.
Mhm.
So since you have yours right there, so per set right now is $4,294.73. So with the donation from the main donation being from Winterfest,
Yeah.
and a couple other small ones. Chief came in under budget for his officer pay and drill pay, so there was a little bit of savings there. So based on those, we'd be around $2,000 off to fully fund 2 sets. Again, Chief has been doing a great job of keeping in budget, still gonna try to put those, I know Mary and I had spoke, so I think Chief is looking for approval to go ahead and order 2 sets at this time. You can jump into it.
That's what I wanted to show is the quote that I gave you in December.
Yeah.
That was just under 4,000. That just showed you how much it's jumped
Yeah.
up.
Oh, yeah.
In a 34 months time.
Yeah.
So that's why I said there, we talked about it, and I said that we really think about, maybe have to raise that 12% each year.
Yeah.
Because that's how much this stuff jumps up in price.
And I think that's the plan going forward, is to have.
Right now, we're just a smidgen around 3 sets going forward.
Yeah.
Depending on where things fall, so. Depending on how the whole budget falls, we definitely can cover 2 sets in the next budget without a problem. 3, we might be able to sweep a 3rd set in,
Mhm.
in the following after June 30th, but there is, like I said. I can't remember if it was 12 or 13,000 that we line item for.
It was 12, you like that.
Yeah, right, so, so
Yeah.
just a smidge under 3 full sets. So without question, 2 could get done next year, so you have 4. 2 right now and then 2 coming up.
But this budget we're into right now.
Right, so the one we're talking about is this year because of the large donation that came in. So then, starting July 1st, when this budget kicks in, assuming everything is passed next Tuesday, then there's the 12,000. So minimum 2 sets without question. The 3rd set would be right on the fringe.
Does that include the donations from Winterfest?
So the donation for Winterfest is what we're talking about right now,
Okay.
because
So-
Chief wants to get 2 ordered in this, basically right now.
Before the-
Starting in July.
Including the Winterfest money and then reserve stuff?
No, so there's not a reserve available right now,
Okay,
because we have not funded and we use the reserve for other items
okay,
prior to.
Yeah.
This year has not been funded.
okay.
So we're trying to get back on track like we did at the highway department and get those reserves built up. So we're not discussing shortchanging the reserves for this year, but those wouldn't be funded until closer to the end of fiscal year.
Okay.
So between mid-May to mid-June.
But between what we have now and between the Winterfest gifts, essentially, we're within a stone's throw of 2
Up
sets.
2 sets.
I have no problem with 2 sets, personally.
And then after June 30th.
Yeah, then we deal with the rest.
Right, we have a specific line item going forward,
Yeah,
for that, and like I said, based on the cost. We were trying to squeeze 3, the price has gone up, so.
Okay.
We'll see where we're at, but it's definitely 2 going forward.
Mhm.
On its own line item, so like we talked about, there's. Regular gear, meaning things for the department, and then there's turnout gear, so that's a brand new line item that has not been in the fire department budget. Prior to this coming year, just specifically for that, because of how many sets they need to get them on a proper rotation.
And that'll be approved when we have our meeting next
when we
week.
have the
It's part of,
And then-
right, it's part of the budget that is in,
this book.
Yep.
And then that starts July 1st.
Got it.
So
Right.
after July 1st, we look at everything else, we see where the,
But that will be for the next budget, next year's budget.
that's correct.
And then, there's one other thing that Ed and I got talking about, and I didn't realize it.
he said he had talked before and, Fairfax. You got probably about like 10 years and they'll have to be renewed.
We started a reserve,
Okay.
years ago, we started a reserve for canisters, which I think are and packs.
Yeah.
They were two items that we knew of that needed be there. Hopefully, we haven't drained that for other equipment, but.
Well, so the fire equipment reserve is the one that was used last year for
Yeah,
other
so
items.
we'll
So
just have to
that's
bring
part
that
of
up.
our conversation that we talked about with our,
Get that built back up before.
get it built up and to work on the capital plan.
Yeah.
The items that are long-term, like we've now started with turnout gear, so we can get things on the proper tracks.
So tonight, we're looking for approval of two kits.
Two sets.
Yep.
That, donation money, you guys got that?
Yeah, it's, oh,
We
not,
don't have
not the donation yet, that has not come in yet.
That should have
We've
gone
been
directly
told-
to you, to the fire department.
Well, I
The,
don't know, Tara, do you know if they've sent that?
I don't, they just announced that they had it. I don't know if they.
I don't know if it-
my understanding was that, I know the library sent a check. They told me they
To the
did,
fire department.
directly to the fire department, and that was my understanding that Sandra's check. went
Who's
to
your
the
treasurer? Ask that one.
That's fine.
fire department.
So I actually got the check from the library and I gave that to Keith last week, I think.
All right, that's
It was
the one
a-
that you gave me, all right.
Okay.
Because somebody did ask me for the address, and I'm just like, I don't really know, so I sent it to you.
So does that money go into the village?
No.
funds?
No, it goes into their kit.
Into their,
Yeah,
Right, so what we'll have to do is discuss the difference from what that
Yeah.
check comes. So what would probably happen is then the difference from that donation, because in the budget for the village is where we talked about, because you know, you came in under for your officer pay, your drill pay. And then the difference from the donation check to the total of the two, that would come from reimbursement from the village to the department. Since you're gonna have the bulk of it, if the round table and library is sending checks.
Is that what I had to bring that one up to the department, because a donation money, that's the department has to. You know, that's nothing I can make on my own.
that's something you guys get to determine.
Well, and originally, I was the one that put the bug in the ear of North Bennington Roundtable to perhaps take the finances that we made from Winterfest and give it to you guys, because that was when we started, well, it's that when we started seeing a lot of things that you guys had for expenses, and I was like, gosh, you know, maybe this would help. So they did it last year and this year, recognizing that you guys are very important, and that hopefully that helps you guys to get the stuff you need.
After I got the book, the annual book from Doug there, and started looking, I started going back and we're running on the same budget, it's 2009.
20
It's like-
same budget.
It's like,
Well, that's not true anymore.
you're gonna be operating, it's because it's.
Well, it was increased last year significantly because of the new truck
Yeah.
payment.
But that, where the truck payment was coming out of the, truck sinking funds, and that,
Only some, it wasn't
A
more.
portion of the truck payment is $28,000 a year. Okay, the line item in here that had to increase was 18,000. When we sold the truck, it was sold for $63,000, and we were supposed to get over 100,000 for it. So it was supposed to be 10,000 every year to offset. So we have 6 years worth of 10,000 to offset those payments. Right, so the budget last year was
68, you're taking a certain amount out of that.
10,000 every year from what we labeled it a loan. What's that?
Yeah, that's why the budget is the net of what's in what would have to be raised for taxes and what.
We
is-
just have to keep working each year to try to figure out how we can increase it, so we finally get where we really need to be, to fund everything yearly.
And hopefully you can work with your treasurer to provide us with the budget that you're looking for each year, so that we can make those adjustments, you know, year to year.
I'm just curious, have we always used donations for needed turnout gear?
We, see, this is the problem, is the turnout gear, when it was bought, whatever, 20 years ago, it was never rebudgeted to begin a replacement. Okay, so last year, when the trustees were told, we scrambled to get that first 4 set. So now we're trying to go forward. So the discussion that Chief and I had was for it's in the budget, like I said, you talked about trying to get 3 sets.
Yeah, we were trying to look for 4.
Yeah.
The budget, we, so we didn't hurt the taxpayers, that's really hard.
Right.
So we're gonna get it for try to shoot for
Yeah,
3.
we're shooting for 3, so we're right in the ballpark of 3, 2 is no problem even with the increase.
Yeah.
3 is right on the edge. So the discussion to try to get 2 right now was when the donation was made from the Winterfest. So we said that amount, I think it was 5,000, I have to look back at what we had
That's
figured.
I have a certain amount, it's still not doing like your budget.
Exactly, right, and that's where we're trying to, if you can still work in under that, that covers the total of the 2. Right. So that was a discussion that Chief and I had.
I understand what you're saying.
We're just trying to figure this out. That's not the meeting.
What's that?
I understand our. We're good. I got you. Thank you for explaining that.
Right?
I'd like to understand what we're buying here, and I don't want to take up more time, but do you have photographic sort of display of the equipment that's in?
What we're gonna be buying?
Yeah, what we're
we're
buying,
buying, it's a helmet, protects the guy's head.
Yeah.
The coat, the bunker pants, and the boots. And that doesn't include Nomex hood, and it doesn't include the gloves.
And those hoods have been canceled now, the ones.
What I got from Nomex hood right now are good until they're outdated. Once they're outdated, we have to go to the new Nomex hood, which are $100.
They protect our face.
Exactly, I mean, it's essential, no one's doubting that, the whole issue is getting ahead of it. So that it's not surprise when we look at a budget and bearing in mind that we have 430 tax paying parcels in this village, that's it.
No, one of them.
I know.
So I'm just trying to make sure I understand all of this there.
Yeah, so it's not a matter of not wanting to get the right equipment. It's not a question that the equipment has to be safe and appropriate. It's just a matter of how many can you buy at a particular time?
Without pinching taxpayers.
Exactly.
right, well. It just seems like an awful lot of money for one set.
I'm sure it is.
I think
but-
it's the going rate though,
Yeah,
and it lasts 10 years.
last 10 years, that's good.
Yeah.
We got spoiled when we got that Wainscot foundation money there, and that took care of a lot of stuff that the taxpayer didn't have to pay for. Now that that's all gone,
Yeah.
now we gotta go back to depending on the taxpayer, how they care.
So
Where did that come from? What was the,
It's called Wainscot Foundation.
yeah, are they still around?
Yeah.
Can we hit them up
We did
again?
her, she hires.
It was one of our firemen there that, went to college up here, he,
Wonderful.
and we brought him in the fire department, we bring a lot of college kids into the fire department. To teach him himself, and he just happened to be from a very wealthy family,
Come to one.
and so. That's,
It was a nice young.
and they take it every so often when they do these donations to certain organizations around. It's not one that, yep, here this year, we're gonna give it to you, it doesn't work out.
Do you
I
guys,
need to be mindful of the time.
Okay, one quick
Questions
question.
only on this subject.
okay. Then I should stop.
Is one set of turnout gear, is that just used by one individual, or is it something that's available for any individual who goes out on call?
You could usually, size up another guy.
It depends on-
It's like I got one of my assistants there, I haven't seen him since. I hope. So his gear's sitting in there, but as soon as I know for sure that he's all done, I already got a guy that can fit right into that gear.
Do you guys get a commitment from people? For like, you get your gear, but you're committed to us for a amount of
By
time?
rights, I can't actually take them off my roster until I actually receive a letter from them saying they are going to be.
But I mean, when you're like, hey, I'm gonna spend $4,000 on you for gear, do they have to like commit for a year, 2 years?
One that I got in this part, of the year, I'm gonna be here.
I know, but I'm saying, do you have anything like that, like commitments?
When you're done.
Like a college kid that's gonna leave in 4 years?
Well, it
I've
doesn't
never
matter.
had any problems with the gear back. It's all, usually just talking, most of the cops know us, and they go, hey, get the gear back to them guys, you go, got it.
Done. Do we need a motion? I make a motion to approve two turnout kits. As per Doug's way.
I'm gonna say there's no more discussion because I think we've beat this dead horse. So, all in favor? No, we need a second. Who
I'll
seconded?
second.
Okay, that was Matthew seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Just got one more thing to let you all.
Yes.
I know the word's already gotten out, but last night was our election. Ed Myers has been voted in by the department as chief for the fire department for us now. Amy Myers is your first assistant and Joe Brown is second assistant.
I cannot anticipate there would be any issue with those nominations coming to the board after the annual meeting, but there is a difference between the bylaw of the fire department and the charter that the village must adhere to. We do not have an option but to follow the charter, which says a chief and 2 assistants are appointed after the annual meeting as soon as practical. So it can
That's if
be
you have a fire.
the North Bennington Fire Department. Yes. If for some reason the fire department would no longer exist, well, then the same thing. It says something about you can hire.
I'm just curious because, as you all know, all of you on the computer, hi. My husband served our village for 30 years.
Yes,
Very well.
Yes.
I must add.
yes, I
Okay,
agree.
he has we've never had to do this in the history of our 30 years. We've always done it in-house voting.
Mhm,
The trustees have never been involved
mhm.
in who was chief until now.
Okay,
So what I'm trying to figure out is why
okay,
he's been assigned chief 100%. He didn't put in for it. It was opened up.
mhm,
He accepted it. He did 30 years.
mhm.
And I think that there should be a little more respect for that in there. When I
Okay.
say that, I say because suddenly this comes out after, whatever you want to call all of it as your trustees. As a member of the fire department, a taxpayer.
Mhm.
A lot of the taxpayers probably doesn't know a lot of what is what. I do. I'm a member of the fire department, I'm a taxpayer. And I'm just curious why after history of a chartered 1834 fire department, now the trustees decide who's chief and assistant.
Okay.
That's all, and I'm here as,
And you
taxpayer,
know what?
yeah.
That is a reasonable question to ask.
yes, it is.
First of all, as you mentioned, Ed Myers was the chief continually for 32 years. He checked every box that the trustees would require or would want in a fire chief. Has done, will do. So as far as there not being the annual appointment, it was, I can't really speak for what people did 10, 20, 30 years ago. All I know is that it's in the charter and this body is charged with following the charter. We can't pick and choose. I like this piece, but I don't like that piece.
Right.
The charter simply says, after the annual meeting, as soon as practical, in part, the trustees appoint a chief and 2 assistants. That's all it says. Okay?
Just it caught me personally. I'm here on behalf of myself.
Yes.
Of why all of a sudden changes that has just been coming on like really.
And I'll tell you why. Because Ed Myers ably served for 30 years. There was never a question of any other transition. Then when it came to okay, now there's transition, then the board had to look at what is our responsibility with dealing with that transition? That's it.
How long have you been here?
I've been here, this is my second year.
And well, you're,
I'm like 6 years in.
so why suddenly do all of you feel that this is necessary?
Because
Why
we read
aren't
the
you
charter.
going by your charter?
I can't, like I said, I don't know what the discussion was 10, 20 years ago.
Or
but I-
last year,
but-
the year before?
But I can tell you, that
Did you think to ask people what they might think of your new qualifications as chief and such?
well, that,
Did you
yes.
ask the chief?
It was given to everyone for their comment. We had a meeting and it was given to everybody. Now, as far as that, Ed Myers was the kind of like the poster child for how that
I
list was
agree.
developed. So all we were trying to do is if Mr. Myers retired, which he did, and was not coming back, the board felt that there should be something in writing so that future people who might be interested would know what should be done. And that's why.
Can I say
Yeah.
something too? I'm sure that it has been procedurally done in the past. It just wasn't a big deal. It was just kind of like you gave us names, we said, okay, yeah. And it's the same thing that happens with the water board. They give us names annually. And then we select of the names, they have to give us two, but we select of the names who is then appointed to the water board. So it's just a part of the procedure that the trustees are, or the fire department is under the umbrella of the trustees. So they have to say, yes, what they just appointed is officially appointed. It's not new. It's just, we're noticing it more now. It's probably always been done at the town meeting and someone has always said, these are the names they gave us. Does anyone have any problems? Okay, carry on. So I don't think that it's a new thing. I think it's just more to the forefront of knowledge now.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah.
Would you be safe to say that my husband is now chief? I mean.
I can't say that, and it's not that I wouldn't want
Never
to,
dealt with this before. He was chief, he's chief.
but,
He was chief, he's chief. People prior to that was
Yes.
chief, they're chief.
okay, so I think the entire body of us would be delighted to have Ed Myers and the people that were mentioned come before and be appointed. I don't think that would be a problem, but I'm not, or to any of the board, I'm guessing, but we're not, by statute, we cannot do that yet.
Can I
It's,
add to that again? I think of it kind of like when we're transitioning between presidents.
yeah,
There is that period where they have been elected, but they aren't serving yet, but there's everyone's trading paperwork, doing all the things, talking to each other, right? I'm assuming that Mr. Chief Cross is gonna sit down and do an exchange of information.
Pretty much did that last time.
Yeah,
Right now.
the State of the Union, right?
Try to explain it as best I can. As a board member, you guys still consider me the chief. When that-
municipally, you can have a chief that directs operations at a fire and stuff like that. But for municipal business, which is not that much,
When that total goes in tonight, the department will be dependent on Ed to make the.
and that is fine, that is fire
That's-
department.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just
I think
the
there's confusion.
transition between your meeting and then our town meeting, yes, you know, a week's worth.
It just totally blows me away that something for history suddenly comes to surface. Ray, what do you think about it? I mean, what is your, I respect.
It's in the
you.
charter. Whether it was done before or not, I don't know, because I'm only 2 years on the board. But it's in the charter and it should be followed. That's all we're doing, and to follow it, we need some rules and some a list of duties involved.
I can't imagine that anybody takes an appointment somewhere and has no idea of what they should be doing.
Been going on for 20 years. 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 decades.
And you know what? That's to,
I got you.
that's to your
I'm done.
husband's,
Thank you.
that's to your husband's credit,
Thank you.
because
But I
he
just
did it
think
so
that-
well.
And sometimes we do
Too much.
stumble upon
Not
something
too
that,
much.
sometimes we do stumble upon something that we didn't know that we were supposed to be doing, that we hadn't been doing, so we have to add it in, especially as we get more and more litigious in the world. We really start to adhere to the i's and the t's, just to make sure that everything is
Some
compliant.
things Can also be changed in the future.
Yeah.
So that's.
You know,
something we
And,
forward
and,
to.
and the remedy is to ask for a language in the charter to be changed, which there's a whole process for that.
Well, that's why I'm here tonight, to see where it all stands.
Okay,
My personal
yeah.
view of all of this.
I think it's a difficult thing to change.
Yeah,
Yes,
I could say, I mean, Bennington did a charter change, the town of Rome did a charter change committee maybe 10 years ago. And made, had a group work for 6 months and come up with specific changes to the Bennington charter. And and so the select board at that time approved those changes, and then it went to the legislature, and the legislature disapproved all but 2 of the changes.
The Vermont
Well,
legislature.
we're not.
The Vermont
We're not getting-
charters don't get changed by town, they get changed by the legislature.
That's right.
it's, you know, the fire department can submit names for nomination like anybody else. I cannot imagine that the board is looking to nitpick on those changes, on those submissions. That's why that very brief list was provided, so that this is the basic thing that a chief should do, knowing that there's a big difference between what a chief does on the ground at the scene of a fire and the municipal obligations of such. All we're interested in is the
Well,
municipal
there,
obligations.
and years.
So,
Thank you.
yes,
Well, we're interested in both.
Yeah. yes, but that's that. And we have,
I'm gonna push you to move the agenda on, but
Yes, we
I
have
hope we satisfied your questions, Cindy.
You did.
reasonable questions, and thank you for bringing them.
Okay, moving on,
Yes,
warrants,
we are, yes, we're very far behind them here.
it's okay.
Thank
Doug
you.
talks
Sorry,
fast.
it's good time.
That's okay.
I'll pay you an extra $1 this year.
Anytime, just for the
Good
future,
luck with the heroes thing. That's such a good idea.
just for the future, anybody who's listening, if there is an item that needs to be addressed, please bring it to the board. We will schedule appropriate time. Some conversations should be had, some conversations should be had, and, you know,
Yeah.
they need
should have
time.
done it on the
That's
computer.
okay.
What was I thinking?
Not a
Next
problem.
time.
all done.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. You're on, Doug.
All right, we'll start with the late February warrant. The total of the late February warrant is 13,382.05. It's majority of the normal items, the couple of large items on there. The MSK engineering, that was for Hall Street. We do have a couple of projects with them, so I'll just point out that that one is a Hall Street bill. And then Allegiant trucks, Norm, it said filters, I don't know if you.
I think so.
$2,047.
I'm still waiting for my games with the fall, I don't wanna hear that.
2040, or,
Yeah.
oh, we're on the village warrant.
We're doing
We're on the
the late February.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, total of 13,382.05. I was just pointing out a couple of large items. There was it wasn't a very big one, but with the R.
Do we do these all at once or
Individually.
individually? But then I'm making a motion to accept the late February warrant.
Second,
All in favor?
hi.
Aye. Matthew, are you there? Uh-oh,
He's there. He's
Matthew
just-
should be there. Okay. All right,
Yep, next.
can I use your
Oh,
copies?
absolutely.
Sign, okay.
The regular March warrant is what I have next in my pile. And that is 46,589.30. The few large items on there, we have our quarterly VLCT property and casualty, 14,134.50. We do have Love Cody for 12,000, which is the audit, which I'll talk about a little bit more, when we get to the treasurer report. And, there was a salt, that we had ironically talked about last month, 2,738. And then a delinquent tax check to the school district for 5,688.36. And the only other large item, VAE, Vermont Art Exchange, 3,080, that's an ARPA, rebate or payout. They provided receipts for their, bathroom project. So that's all I have on that.
Okay, so that audit has been done, or is this a progress payment?
Audit is complete, yeah, 3 years through fiscal
Oh,
year end.
3 years.
That's why it's, yeah,
Oh, that's why it's a month.
yes.
And you have all the copies of the
Yes.
audits, right?
Yes.
So we can get anybody a copy of the
Yeah,
audit,
that's, I'm gonna.
and it
go
will
with that.
go on the web. Oh, you'll talk
Yeah.
about that, okay.
All
But
right.
yeah, so it's a 3-year audit, right?
Okay.
And that was through fiscal year 6/30/2022.
Yeah, okay. So I'll move that we approve for one.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and last warrant is payroll warrant, total amount is 12,536.12. With that extra day in February, the payroll is a little,
Yeah.
it shows
Yeah.
3 pay periods, but
Yeah.
the February 29th was a Thursday, payday is Friday, so because the payroll company has to take it out the day before the pay actually cuts, that's why you see 3 on there. Other than that, it's normal, and there's 1 half flat. So that was 12,536.12.
Make a motion to approve the payroll.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Doug, you're still on.
I'm back to back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we just talked about the audit, I'll start with that. We did get our audit completed. So again, the village does every 3-year cycle for the audit. And this was the last one that will be with Love Cody. They are in transition as a firm with some retirements. So they are no longer going to be doing audits. Mary and I had been working hopefully with a gentleman out of Latham to become the auditor for both the water department and the village. Unfortunately, we got bad news from him last week that due to some changes within their office, they are not going to be able to take on the village and the water department, so I am back to square one. So I am looking for a couple of firms. He is going to get me a couple of recommendations that he may have. Bennington, as I talked about, has gone to a firm with a office in Burlington, based in Maine. We are hopeful to not have to go to Burlington just because we're smaller. We don't have a full-time person that would work that. So we're trying to stay hopefully within, an hour-ish radius of us, but it
We have
may
to stay within the state, or can we go to like?
as long as they can handle, it's more, so what I've found, it's more of the municipality piece than the state to state piece. Cause there's a lot of differences between a municipality audit and, regular business, right? And being smaller than Bennington, we don't have to do the annual audit because federal funds over certain, I think it's $750. You have to have a single audit done every year, so we do not hit that threshold, so we can do the every 3, which is what we're hopeful to stay at.
That's 750,000.
Correct, from federal funds. Yep. So that's where we're at. I was hoping, I told the water department, I was hoping to be able to say, we're done, we're ready. They said yes, but we're back to square one. Quick update for delinquent taxes. We are looking great. The village principal that is outstanding right now is just a little over 13,000. We only have 3 parcels that owe more than this year, so that owe on 2 years. And 2 of those, it's less than $100 because they just didn't pay the penalty and the interest, so it's just kind of there. Until probably the next cycle comes through and then it will square up. updated cash balances, I'm going to get that to you probably closer to month end. I am going to make some reserve transfers. The audit being one of them. When we purchased the sidewalk tractor, I haven't moved the money from the reserve funding yet, so I'm gonna do some of those transfers. Over the next couple of weeks with the bank and get those, so I'll have a very accurate cash balance for everybody.
How much did we need to, were you planning on taking the whole 12,000 out of the audit reserve?
So, so the audit reserve is, so this is actually a little bit higher than we've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
10 normally.
Yeah,
So our reserve is actually just over 10. So I'll probably use the 10 and then we'll have, we do have some, the income is a little higher right now for general.
okay.
So that will probably
Well, I'm just
offset.
wondering if we can wait and hold off on that and maybe end up not needing to use a whole 10.
Okay,
But then again, if we do this in 3 years, you know, that just means I don't remember what we budgeted.
well, we don't right now,
Yeah.
because we knew that we were gonna have to get, so. Once we have the new firm, we know how much it is, then
Yeah,
we can
then we
divide
can
that by 3 and have that for each year.
Yeah, but there's probably something we should do because we're already a year behind if that was 22.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, can we maybe just take 5 out, take half of it, whatever it is, and then
Well, we
wait
can,
until the end of the year?
that one, I don't feel is an issue right now.
Okay.
That one, I'm not, I think I can just leave that and we can just pay that out of general
Oh,
funds for
let's do
that.
that. Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I'll just make a note that we're going to discuss it, say at the meeting.
Yeah,
You know,
good.
when we're closer.
Okay. That makes
Because the
sense.
bigger ones that I'll need, like I said,
Yeah.
for the sidewalk tracker, that's a definite one. I wanna
Yeah.
get that one transferred. And there's a couple of the last ARPA funds that I haven't transferred that we paid out.
Okay,
So those are the main ones that I wanna get. And I'm also going to fund a few of the smaller reserves for this fiscal year, so I'm not having to do it all at the very end. So that'll be where I'm at there. Mary and I had met with, Ron from Enable. Ron is gonna be working with us to transition our website, so that they will work with us to, maintain, update our website. So that way there it's an ongoing. Lucy's great, but at some point she's probably going to say she doesn't want to do it anymore. So Ron also can offer other services as far as technical skills and things like that. The other piece of that puzzle, he has he provided me with a name and number and company for a copier. So I'm going to be speaking with them probably next week. So here we've talked about this, we'll have more of a commercial copier scanner that can scan for zoning. Chris has a need for scanning. DRB has a need for scanning, things like that in the planning. A printer, right, a quality commercial printer, that can do larger jobs as opposed to, one or sheet.
tax bills.
Tax bill printing, right, all of those types of things will be able to be done.
Yeah.
And if there's meetings and you need a copy, it'll be better than the little home copier that we have in there.
Would this be on a purchase basis or?
I'm going to get quotes for both.
Service and rent?
Ron was saying he actually recommends leasing because then they will replace and they also allow for the toner and things like that. But I am going to request both and bring it to the trustees for them to make a decision as to, and I'll have them give me the pros and cons, if we lease, what does that entail? What do we get out of it? If we purchase, how often would it last, those types of things? So I'll have both of those to present.
Do we have to look for 3 bids or 2 or 3 bids?
I think it's going to depend on how much it comes in at. There is a threshold, which I don't know off the top of my head. But once we know where it's at, if it's under, then we wouldn't have to get any other bids.
Great.
I mean, the school system puts copy, because a lot of copies.
Right.
Enormous.
Yep.
Puts those out and usually they get solicit 3 or 4 known firms and the differences between different prices is pretty amazing, yeah.
Well, maybe we
I can even ask Renee, I'm not, because I'm sure Renee's involved with that.
Yes.
You know, I can ask
her.
Renee at the,
Yeah,
at
let's
the,
find their.
to see who she has that they've used or who they
what
usually bid
vendors
to.
are- Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea, right?
Or is there something with the town there? Is there volume discounts? Is to, you know, I don't know what happens over there.
That's possible, because I think they're leased.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's.
I think a
that's
lot of
another thing to look
businesses
at.
now are going that route because of,
They're
Like I
That would
said,
be
leased
another thing to
and the
look and see
machine
if
gets
there's
swapped out
some
when they're
synergies with getting together and everybody
obsolete.
saving a little.
right, yep,
Right.
exactly.
And
Nope,
you
that's
get better
fair.
you can get better service on. when
Right, you
have
can-
a need.
Right, if you're leased, you're more likely to have somebody come out and fix it than if it's yours and you're trying to get somebody.
Part of the contract.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's it for me, unless anybody has any other questions for me.
well, thank you ever so much. And I do apologize.
It's
for
me.
this lateness.
DRB,
DRB, you.
there is a meeting, not next week, because that's when our town meeting is,
Yeah.
but the following week, which
Yeah.
is the 26th. It is one issue, renewal of a permit, and we'll see you there if you need to be there.
Okay, and Chris, you have a question, correct? Is this, do you wanna, can you hear from there? And I know Matthew needs to be on this call. Matthew, if you're listening in, you're gonna, okay, good, you're gonna need to chime in.
Okay, the question is, we need to pick, we have 2 weeks to do our visit that are available.
This is the site visit for a property, a complaint in the legal system, correct?
Correct.
Is that how you would best describe it?
Yeah, so my
Okay.
objective tonight is to pick of the 2 weeks, which week would be the best, most available. And to pick an alternate participant and of course the time. So the weeks that have been suggested to me are the week of March 25th or April 8th.
Matthew, you had previously agreed that you would be one of the members, you would be representing the trustees at the site visit. Is there one of those 2 weeks or a particular day or time on those weeks that works for your schedule?
Well, I'm going back into, well, I have a medical issue on, the 27th.
Okay,
Probably make, through the, through the following Monday, Tuesday, but then, yeah, I could do something.
okay, so the week of April 8th, that was the other week. Either the week of the 25th or the week of the 8th. So the week of the 8th would work for you?
I believe so.
Okay, and is it correct that Wednesdays are your best days?
It's unclear anymore.
Okay,
Are you talking about, are we talking about a site visit for,
yes,
Yeah, exactly.
I think you schedule it and I'll figure out if I can do it.
well,
Well, the problem is I have to have somebody do it. So if we pick a time that doesn't work for you and I'm left without that extra person that I need.
so we have to have a commitment, that's what Chris is saying.
Problem is that in my line of work, there is not, it's not possible, sadly. But
Okay, tentatively, can we pick like April 10th on a Wednesday?
yep, we can do that.
Because the reason I say that is most likely that once we pick a date and a time, it may get pushed around because of the site. I wouldn't say tonight that if we pick April 10th at 9 AM, that's gonna be written in a rock. Once we present that, there's the opportunity for it to be changed by the other party. So we just need to move forward tonight with something that we can present and see where it goes from there.
And the other option is to have another trustee step in and volunteer to.
Yeah, once
be
we
the
set the
second
date and
person.
time, if it happens to be the 10th, then we could get somebody else, because we have a few weeks before that,
Okay,
so that we could substitute somebody.
okay. Or if another trustee is willing to commit to something on the week of the 25th, that's 2 weeks sooner than that. So if it does get pushed back, then we're not endlessly delaying things.
Yeah, no, I don't want to delay it. I would really like to expedite this whole situation, but I just don't.
And it cannot be a member of the DRB is my
Correct.
recollection.
Because if this gets pushed back to the DRB for some reason, it'll be a conflict.
Mhm.
Okay, then never mind. Ray, it's all you.
Is that something that you would have interest or ability?
I don't know about either of those.
Okay.
But I would do it if it's a pinch.
Let's
Actually, this is a zoning issue,
Yes.
zoning enforcement issue. And, as long as I'm briefed in advance of what you're looking for, so I know what I'm looking at when I get there, I would do it, yes. I
Yes,
have to.
okay.
Scott might be a better person.
Scott can't because he could be an acting
Okay.
zoning administrator.
All right, so, and what day did you suggest? Wednesday, the 20?
And I'm
Okay,
suggesting we look at something perhaps Wednesday, the 27th, which we know Matthew cannot do. But if Ray is willing to step in, we look at Wednesday, the 27th, again, knowing that it is quite likely to be it may well likely be changed.
That's the day of my surgery, so yeah.
Right, so I know you can't, but that's what I'm saying. If Ray could step in, we could start with Ray available on that day. And then if they say, no, it's not that day, then we could,
Yeah, and we could do the 10th and then.
Yes. yes,
So that's, you're talking about Monday, the
no,
25th?
Wednesday, the 27th.
Wednesday, well, of course, I have nothing on that day on my.
Well, how convenient.
So,
What time do you want? to
We
do
don't
it?
know yet. He's just gotta try to schedule it, right?
well, I think what I would pick for a time is like 9 AM.
9 AM, okay.
So that's what I'll present,
Yeah,
those 2 dates, and we'll go with that, and then I'll get back to you.
And, where are we going to meet?
well,
That will be to be determined.
Okay,
The 3 objectives was to pick the date, the time, and the person, so we've done that, so I'll forward that information.
okay.
Move on.
Thank you.
okay.
Excuse me, moving forward.
Yes, moving forward. Planning Commission, we've got 2 items.
Sorry, do you
Yeah.
need, do you know how to get in touch with me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Planning Commission. First item should be fairly straightforward. We have the Planning Commission is recommending the Board of Trustees here appoint a new member to the Planning Commission, Hillary Nicole Ivy. She is a fairly recent resident of North Bennington, Jeannie Jenkins' neighbor across the street, as a matter of fact. I have presented to you before her letter of interest and her resume. Honestly, don't ask me about that resume because it's way over my head.
Yeah, that's
with
what I
this.
thought. when you
Yeah,
said.
so,
I don't know any of the acronyms.
yes, me neither. But Kim, is there anything you would like to say in support?
Okay, well,
Oh, that's what we thought, yes,
Yeah.
we
Okay,
agree,
do we need a motion?
yes.
I will move that we appoint her to the planning commission.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll get a hold of, I'll send Hillary a note, if not tonight, then tomorrow.
Welcome to the team.
Yes, we are going to not tonight talk about, the need to, wait a minute, look, never mind, I'm ahead of myself. Kim would like to talk about Senate Bill 311.
Yeah.
Senate Bill 311 is a follow-up to the Home Act. And the Home Act changed our bylaws significantly with newly required densities for housing and a whole bunch of other changes that were mandated, which all municipalities have to adopt in their bylaws. They passed it in June. It became law that we had to administer a few weeks later, months before it was even published online. So we scrambled and put it into our draft bylaws, which is a task, because interpreting exactly the meaning of all the aspects of the law was tricky. Well, they're at it again, the Senate 311, it's called the Bee Home Act.
The bee home?
Yeah, I don't know why. And it's increasing density again. So the density requirement is for any parcel served by municipal water and sewer. It has been, as of July, 5 dwelling units per acre. Unless it's an affordable housing development, and if it meets the requirements of affordable housing, it's 7 dwelling units per acre. The new law is.
That's a minimum? These are minimums?
No.
No, that's the maximum. I'm trying to understand how that applies to the parcel. Is it the maximum number of units on a parcel?
No, you can increase it, but it's the minimum
Minimum, okay, thank you.
allowable, yes. And now they're tending to, and again, it's not law, but it may be voted on within weeks. 12 dwelling units per acre. And I don't know what the requirement would be for affordable housing yet, because I don't think it's written. The law is in flux and it's hard to follow, but. And a whole list of other things, including requiring requiring that you must allow 50% coverage of any lot which is served by water and sewer.
Oh.
Which means in our village, where virtually every parcel has water and sewer, except in the far west, and far east, you could have an Amazon warehouse for coverage of a parcel. It's absurd. But that's the state, and they're, they're painting it with a wide brush. So they don't really care about an individual village. They're trying to legislate a deficit of workforce housing by changing zoning, which on the face of it, I find absurd. So anyway, that's Senate Bill 311, and that could have major ramifications for every municipality in Vermont. Oh, I mentioned that they were changing parking, so you have to allow tandem parking now to meet residential requirements for parking. And the parking lot size, the actual stall size, is 9 by 18. In other words, a pickup truck could not fit in.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've also, with the Home Act, reduced the number of parking stalls per dwelling units to 1. whereas our code has 2. Unless it's affordable, and then for some reason it's 1.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. But this is the kind of thing that we're gonna have to be dealing with. And it's one of 2 bills. There's a House bill as well, which takes on a completely different approach. And these things are coming up to vote very soon, and I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. But the LCT is very unhappy with what's going on and is making that known. And I'm in communication with their assistant director, I think his name is Josh Hampton. Registering my concerns. He asked me whether I wanted to testify, and I wouldn't do that without trustees.
I'd say you should testify. that you're
Absolutely.
Afforded the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Sounds fair and damaging to this village.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, very well, then I'll.
And is there anything that the trustees could do to assist you in that endeavor?
Well, I'll probably draft some testimony
Yep,
and depending on the date and time and so forth, and then I would give it on Zoom.
Okay.
But I'll pass it by you if you'd like to initial it or.
okay,
So
okay.
react, that's fine. So that's that, but we were gonna talk about dam safety.
We were going to talk about dam safety. I'm wondering if we shouldn't defer that given the time.
I
And
stay here
also-
the whole time for this, you're for it, I'm waiting.
You were waiting for this, for the dam
Oh,
thing?
Plus,
I
can
didn't
make
know
it
that.
I can make it.
Yes, go ahead, go for it.
I would think we would want Scott here, but he's not here, so.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I communicated with him, but he hasn't responded, so
Yeah.
they read his email. Let's see, there are 5 dams on the creek. They're all rated, high, low, or minimal hazard. And that is a rating based on the potential to harm people.
Yes,
So, the only dam that is high hazard, that is, its failure could result in fatalities, is the Paran Lake Dam. All subsequent dams, if they gave way, are either low or minimal hazard. The Lake Paran Dam is in fair condition as of the last inspection. The very last inspection was a quick one. I'm gonna go back to November 22, where we did a more thorough investigation. And I'm getting this report directly from Benjamin Green, who's the head of Vermont Dam Safety. And in this report, which is 20 some odd pages long, the important section is the hydrological and hydraulic data chart, in which an engineering firm rates the dam against storm events. There's a 100-year storm event, which equates to a precipitation in inches of just under 7 inches of rain. Then there is something called the PMF, which is the probable maximum flood. And that's 30 inches of rain. And they rank it for quarter PMF, half PMF, and PMF. And then they identify whether or not the dam is overtopped. That is, the water simply goes over the top of the dam that it can't contain. Sufficient. And the dam is overtopped at half PMF. by 1.8 feet. And for a PMF, it's overtopped by 4.5 feet. The completing phrase is, based on the above results, the dam appears to have 6 feet of freeboard between normal pool level elevation and the dam crest. So plenty, sounds like, right? Which exceeds the lower allowable freeboard threshold of 3 feet according to state requirements. However, the dam is overtopped by 4.5 feet during the SDF spillway design flood, which does not meet state requirements of providing 1.5 feet of freeboard. Since the dam cannot safely pass the spillway design flood, the dam is considered hydraulically inadequate.
Yeah.
This is back in 2022. The dam is owned by V-Trans. And the track sitting on top of the dam is owned by V-Trans. And the bridge over top of the spillway is owned by V-Trans. That has not been inspected recently. That's the one I'm most interested in because we're putting bomb trains across that bridge.
What kind of trains?
Bombs, what they call bomb trains, trains with liquid.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, thank you.
And if a tank car was to fall at that location, not only would there be potential for what they call a lead or an explosion of the tank car, but also sacrifice of the dam and inundation. The state publishes inundation maps, and I have one that I can show you. I pass them on my laptop. But it's significant, as you might imagine, we cover the entire river corridor with water. So the bridge was last inspected maybe 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And it was in good condition, fair to good condition. They rated in several things. So that's good. The train cars that pass over top of that are 193,000 pounds. It's 2 spans. It has a concrete buttress in the center. Has no railings. And the dam itself is poorly maintained. And they have a number of suggestions for improvements, and this is back in 2022. It's also unlikely that it's being monitored. So if a major storm happens, nobody's out there looking, checking the water levels. There are no water level alarms along the river. So no one would be alerted to a problem. Interesting.
I don't know, at least I'm hired.
Yes, you are. Our firehouse.
Your house, well, we got bigger problems.
Yeah.
Yes, but our firehouse is
Our
right in that
firehouse
thing.
is definitely
Definitely, yeah.
at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The state does have programs. They'll buy properties in flood zones. And you must turn it into grass. Can't build anything in that same location. That doesn't pay for any firehouse.
Yeah.
Just buys it. But there is money, and there's federal money that you might be able to tap into to replace the firehouse, because it is exactly what they're trying to prevent. And there are applications which I've looked at, and you get more points for preemptively solving a problem on the application than addressing a problem that's already occurred. So you get 10 points for preemptively solving the problem, and 2 points for doing it after the fact. Anyway, it's certainly.
Could it also be tackled by somehow getting V-Trans to, how do we get them to put some feet on the ground and eyes on the problem? And engineers on the problem?
I should also mention that in 2020, November 2020, they had a derailment on the North Bennington.
Yes, that's right. You mentioned that, yeah.
Which was not reported to the Bennington Fire Department.
Oh, interesting.
Well, they reported it after the fact, long after the fact, they did not report it at the time. And this was with.
That's the railroad.
Yeah, the V-Trans.
It's not V-Trans, it's the Vermont Railroad, right?
Well, it's Vermont Railroad, V-Trans owns the dam, and Vermont Railroad, I don't know exactly the umbrellas that they all fall under, but it's all state. It's all the state.
So that dam was rebuilt in the late 70s,
I think
put into
80s.
service.
I think the.
No, I think it was like 78 or 79.
It's actually in our village.
About the year I came to there. And did they not know these standards at that point in time? Have they changed? These ratings of dams?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Okay.
I think that in the interest of time, this is not the last conversation we
No.
need to have on this.
Right.
I think this is just the beginning of raising the awareness of the hazard that's available, but I guess, and last meeting, Kim and I had, and Chief Cross was there too, Scott was there, and we came back and reported on the meeting we had with the REMC. And we asked at that meeting that they bring someone in from V-Trans to begin to talk to the group about addressing hazards such as this. We've also asked that the state emergency group, I can't remember the acronym, put a roundtable session, a training sort of session on tabletop, thank you.
Exercise.
A tabletop exercise on that dam breaching, which will be scheduled for at some point here this year. But in the meanwhile, what, do you know anybody that we should?
I think the first suggestion is, can get a hold of my office next week or even this week. Tomorrow I got full day, but we can go out and look at those things together, how they're inspected, it's the best that we can. And then we'll develop a plan and figure out where we go with the engineer and our state contacts, but at least I understand what you're talking about. Besides this, because I never want to damn sign mine.
There's a much fuller discussion that needs to occur concerning the train.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And done a lot of investigating
Yes.
that as well. And that is a huge issue for both of our municipalities. And it's not been addressed, it's been dismissed.
Yeah.
I went through all of the meeting notes at the Rail Council from 2015 to present. And it was mentioned once, I think, 2015, and it said, there's some articles in the paper in there, bogus, there's no safety hazard. That's, it's never been raised. Now, I know Brian Campion had meeting with these folks, Anyway, I've written to Brian Campion and suggested an alternative location for this
Yes.
storage. It's far away from other people. It's safe, it allows the railroad to have advantages. There is an exception. I better stop. It's
It's not.
But it is a big discussion, but it is incredibly important. And I do think it's something that as we're working on our emergency management plans, we all need to be in the same room talking about this.
Yeah, I would love for the town to be part of that as we look at the regional.
Yeah.
Emergency management plan, and I will say that the town of Bennington has contacted, it's actually the congressional delegation that controls this because it's interstate commerce that's being messed with. Our legislative delegation has not been helpful. They have, I guess it's not an argument, they wanna, it's like there's political capital we can spend on these things. Our congressional delegation has also not been willing to have a conversation, so until they are, the trained people we don't matter.
Yeah.
It really is at a much higher level, so, we've not been able to get our state delegation to sort of be advocates for us.
but we have federal registry, that aspect regulates railroads on our side.
Yes, Kim found language in there that,
They have an exception,
yeah,
but I bet you they haven't fulfilled the requirements of that exception.
yes. And I'm guessing though that I'm just wondering if dealing with all the stuff, all the railroad itself stuff is the heavier lift. And can we start with what the railroad is running on
Yes.
and start from there? And then maybe that's easier, lower hanging fruit, as they say, to see what we can do. So let's start working together. Norm can put some eyes on things. We will have to start making contacts and seeing what we can do. Thank you. Kim has put in, I will say for the public, if they don't know, Kim has put in an enormous amount of time and effort doing research and tracking down, writing letters, tracking down individuals, trying to get copies of reports, looking through reports. But we are working on the village plan now, and the village plan noted that there were issues with the dam that should be investigated and followed up on. So it's not anything new, but we've got plenty of prior years knowing that there was a problem. So now it's time to see what we can collectively do to start getting some answers getting some answers and getting some action.
I would propose that our next subject be John Umflett, so that
Yes.
since he's been here longer
I
than
know,
anticipated.
I'm trying, but these are all important. I am going to, on the old business, we're gonna go right to John. I am not gonna talk about the other things. We're just gonna have to put them aside. And I'm not even gonna talk about the new business. So John, and we had previously approved John to use the space. Over there, now we've talked about John's gonna use the upstairs space. John is here now to tell us dates, times, whatever.
Yes, first of all, I wanted to thank you so much for the opportunity last term. And I had an opportunity to visit the spaces we talked about in this building here, both the first floor and the second floor. We had students from a sculpture class at Bennington College who was there to explore. We did decide on opening evening of April 21st, which is a Sunday, between 4 and 6. So the way we would break that down, and I can share this with you as well once I
Okay.
finish up the document.
Okay,
What I understand our responsibilities are, and I talked with Matthew.
okay,
Is that, we would set up on that Saturday, the 20th, around from 10 to 2. And then we would have that opening this Sunday, 4 to 6. Have one other time on Monday afternoon, not quite settled that. And then we would be breaking the show back down that following Tuesday. So it's happening mid-afternoon. Saturday, we're setting up. Opening, that will be open. Public. Sunday. Monday, set times probably mostly for maybe faculty and other students to come over and then a breakdown back out of the space on that Tuesday.
okay,
What I understand about that space is, and I talked with Matthew Perry about, there's not drilling into the wall, but we definitely. I would be responsible for the actions of the students, that
okay.
if something like that does happen, that hopefully it doesn't happen, right? But that I understand, that we understand that would be something that we can make sure.
We'll have to make sure that, you get at least able to borrow a key to get in, and whomever needs to will be able to get in and out. John and I did talk about the need to perhaps be on this side for use of a bathroom, but he didn't think that was necessary. We already have the upstairs full of tables with records, and John is gonna have the students help kind of photograph what's there. We're gonna move them into a vacant room and then move them back with the photographs. And we're gonna start doing a few more records clean outs before then, which I can talk to the trustees about, just things that we know are on the discard pile that we can get to. So that should be able to help this, but I think this is wonderful. I think we all agree that it was a good collaboration. And I'm glad that they're opening it up to the public, even though not all the public can maybe make the stairs to get upstairs. At least it's something that they can see, and it might be good experience for the students.
Absolutely. I just want to thank the town again.
Yeah. Sorry we kept you this long.
No, gosh, it's wonderful.
So,
Thank you so much. So Mary, can I send that? Okay, once that, I send that directly.
yes,
to you?
please do, and then I'll send it to all the trustees.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, and we will make sure that we get together before April 20th. One of those weekdays, make sure that you have a key that works. We'll walk the spaces and things like that.
And I can bring that up to make sure that we're taking care of that.
Yep, that sounds good. Okay.
Did the stump get removed?
No, because no one knows who the stump belongs to. Best guess is that it was a student somewhere.
Okay, so if at that point that hasn't been removed, because I know that's heavy, I have a bunch of
Yeah.
junk
And-
facts that.
And if anybody, if they should want that stump for any reason, otherwise Norm said he was just he'd take it out and throw it on the dump pile.
Okay.
But we could talk to Matthew Perry about that too.
Okay.
Because the hand card itself is pretty darn nice, and that's worth way more than the stump.
Great,
We don't want that thrown on the pile.
well, thank you so much.
Thank
I'll
you.
send that.
Thank you. And again, apologies for the delay and
Oh, my gosh, no, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
okay,
Have a good evening.
thank you.
John,
Given the time, I'm going to defer talking about the EMD appointment at this point. We know that their village annual meeting is at the Village School Auditorium on Tuesday, March 19th at 7:30 p.m. Hopefully, we will have lots of people attending that. All the plans have been made for that, as far as I know. Lori, I don't believe anything else is needing to be done for that meeting.
No, it will be set up.
Okay.
And ready to go next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. And we do have a sign language interpreter coming to. There will be two of them, but the service available, so anyone in need of that service, please know that it is available. I'm going to simply mention very briefly that there is a Zoom training for helping, revise the local emergency management plan, which is due May 1st of every year. It is, so that is, Kim and I are gonna be meeting right here at 2:00 on March 25th. Anyone interested in such things, please come join us. We get to ask our questions and we get to then revise our plan. That is all I'm gonna say on that. Does anybody else have anything they wish to talk about?
I have 3 minutes of executive.
Okay.
business.
All right. We will, then I will make the motion to enter into executive session to discuss a matter, a personnel or a legal matter? Legal. A legal matter, premature discussion of which would put the village at substantial disadvantage.
And I
Do you
need a
have a
motion
second?
to.
Do you
move
have a
on.
second on that
Oh, a
one?
second for that.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Matthew, hopefully you're still here too. Thank you all. Again,
Thanks.
apology for the delay. And then you are making a motion to go into executive session.
We'll make that motion.
I will second that one.
Thank you.
See you too.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session. And
Thanks, Chris. You put Pat in that.
I will do that. Cat TV, I am putting you in the waiting room, but we are, the only motion we will do coming out of here is just to adjourn. But you can hang out here if you want. Hold on, put in waiting.
Just tell me when.